Dr. Mindy here. Welcome to episode 4 of Resetter TV. So I'm really excited to share this one with you because we're going to talk about keto, fasting, and detox with kids. How the heck do you do that? And I interviewed Dr. Melissa Saunders, who is an expert in holistic care for kids. She's going to talk about everything from picky eaters to concussions to, she had this really cool acronym for the word no that you can tell your kids. So it's a really awesome episode. We have a few moments where her internet connection gets a little squirrely, but hang in there because you want to hear it all the way to the end. So as always, I really truly hope this helps because this is one that you do not want to miss. Enjoy.
Hey, Researchers, Dr. Mindy here, and I have an amazing episode of Resetter TV for you. Not only have I brought one of my most favorite people on, but we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is kids and raising healthy families. So today I just want to announce and introduce you all to Dr. Melissa Saunders. Welcome, by the way. Let me start off there, Dr. Melissa. Just so excited to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here. My favorite girly. So fun.
Yeah.
And talking about our favorite stuff. So
I know,
so
right? I mean, this is one of the things that you'll see about many of the people that I bring on to Resetter TV is that this information is like life for us. We obsess on it. We love it. We love to help people. We love to apply it. But between the two of us, we've got kids that range from age 2 is your youngest, right? All the way up to 19. And so we have been applying keto, fasting, detoxing to the world to our kids for a very long time. So we're going to talk really from two angles here. We're going to talk from a mommy angle. We're going to talk from a doctor angle, and then you're going to see we're going to talk from science as well. So let me give you a little bit of a background on Dr. Melissa. I'm not a big bio reader, by the way. I like the human aspect of people. But one of the things I'll tell you about Dr. Melissa is that she is in the trenches with families every single day, teaching prenatal, pregnancy, small kids, helping families live a holistic life. So let's start with this, Dr. Melissa. Give us a little bit of a background on yourself and what you're doing with families in your practice.
Sure. Yeah. I just want to ask you, Mindy, am I choppy at all? I don't know. You were a little
bit. Yeah, a little bit. So yeah, I don't know.
Good spot, but I might just move into our kitchen here in case it's a little bit.
Yeah, you can try moving to it. And if you're watching us on YouTube, we're doing this live within my Resetter group. So that my resetters can ask questions to Dr. Melissa as we're going along.
Perfect. So, all right. So we'll just swing it.
Yeah.
So I've been working with basically moms, babies is really where my passion lies. And those babies obviously grow up. So then I end up working with young kids or now teens. And some of the babies that I started with are headed off to college, which is so weird because I don't feel like I've been doing it that long, but it's crazy to see. And, I feel like one of the main things I want to do is just help inspire these women to help do, little things every day that just make their family healthier. And Mindy, like you and I have talked about, we're big on not, instilling mom guilt because we all do that to ourselves. Really like softening important messages and encouraging people, one step at a time to just do things for their family.
Yeah. So, and to give you guys a little bit of a background on Dr. Melissa, she and her husband have a very active functional medicine practice. They do everything from chiropractic to, I guess we call it HBOT, hyperbaric oxygen chambers for kids. They do detoxes, they do nutritional coaching. So, she has a wide range of knowledge on, all things having to do with holistic health for kids. So, but let's start here. Let's dive in because what I want to do is give really clear, concrete advice to our viewers and so that they can understand specifically how do you apply keto, fasting, and detoxing to your family. Those are the three most common questions that I get not only on YouTube, but on in my Resetter group. So what I'd like to start off with is this idea about, I know for my own family, when my kids were born, and my daughter's 19 now, my son is 16. I'm still in awe that I could have children that age. And when my daughter was born 19 years ago, the one thing that I was really clear on, of all things, was that I was going to make health a priority, and that I was going to have a philosophy around health. I was going to teach my kids how to have a philosophy around health. And that philosophy was actually probably going to look a lot different than what most of the world does with their health. So I don't know if you had that same experience when you had kids, but can you talk a little bit about the culture of health in your family, and what does the philosophy of health look like in your family?
Yeah, I mean, I would say one of our main core values, even our family, is health. We do it every day. And so we really weave conversations around healthy habits into a lot of our daily living. Our kids are 2, 6, and 8. And we really feel like they're constantly being bombarded with information that isn't really in alignment with our philosophies on health and natural living. For example, they're seeing, when we do watch TV, they're seeing commercials on food products that aren't even food. And, at the lunch table, I think their lunches probably look a little bit different than a lot of kids. And so we talk about why that would be and why we choose to eat the way that we eat. Every meal time is really a time where we try our best to have conversations about why we're eating what we're eating and how it makes our bodies feel and how it helps us stay fast in sports. The boys love hearing that kind of stuff. So we just really try to bring it to them on their level.
Yeah, and I think this is such an important point, because what I got a lot of questions in my resetter group about was how, especially as they go into the teen years, how do I deal with the social pressures of my kids eating or being exposed to really poor health habits? And I think that the most important thing that I point out to my kids is that, yeah, we do things differently in this house. And the reason that we do it differently is because we want a different result than what most people in America, for sure. I know we have people that watch this all over the world, but America's health is atrocious. And what I want to show my kids is, yeah, we're doing things differently. Mm-hmm. So that's why we eat organic. That's why we work on the oils that we work on. And it's a daily, it's like you have to constantly model for them, not in a like I told you so way, but more in a, isn't this really cool that we know this information way? Is that kind of how you found it too?
Absolutely, yeah. And what's really cool to see, Mindy, now with especially with the 8-year-old and 6-year-old, Levi and Wyatt, I think because the way that we have those conversations is that way, it's not like putting anything down that other people do, because we, every day, every year, we just try to get a little bit better, right? There's things that we do that definitely could be cleaned up. But what I'm starting to see now is when these questions come up or where kids are like, why are you eating that? I wouldn't eat that. They're really inspired and they're like teaching their friends. Yeah. Oh, this is really cool. Like, I'm going to beat you at the playground,
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really fun. And I think that the ages that your kids are at are, I don't know another way to say this, but they're the manipulatable ages. You can really implant positive thinking. It's the teenagers that have a little bit more finessing to do when it comes to health.
I'm in a place where I have more control over their food for sure. And I know, like your kids' ages, you've done things differently to instill those things, I'm sure. And I know a lot of your viewers have kids your age. But people do say it gets a lot trickier then. So I encourage my patients who have kids our age or even baby, when I'm working with babies, I really tell a lot of my moms, picky kids aren't born. I really believe they're created. And that starts with first foods, right? Yes. So the younger we start, the easier.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you for pointing that out, because when I find that people, when my kids were little, like in elementary school, we would go to parties and people would say, oh, all my son wants to do is eat cheese pizza. It's just the way he is. When your child is born, their palate, their taste ability is a blank slate. You condition it. So if you're listening to this and you have a baby or you're pregnant or you're thinking of getting pregnant, please understand that this is a blank slate and you can control it probably for a really good time period until they're teenagers. And we'll talk about teenagers in a second. So yeah. So I love that. Picky eaters, what did you say? Picky eaters aren't born, they're
born, they're created. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. So okay. So as far as creating a culture for your family of good health, what I heard from you is it starts with talking every day about health with them. It is giving them healthy foods and training their taste buds at an early age. Have you done any education? Like somebody commented in my Reset Academy that they've been watching some Netflix shows with their kids and trying to, there's so many cool Netflix shows out right now.
Oh, yeah.
Have you done any of that? Like watch documentaries with your kids and try to help them see other angles of health, not just from you guys?
Yes. Well, they've been to some conferences with us too. So we're really lucky for that regard. It's kind of in our world a lot, just with Jason and I both being chiropractors. But they watched The Magic Pill. Okay. And, that brought up some questions. And then a lot of times, again, like I said, like we'll just weave it into daily living so that, even when they're hearing like traditional things, we'll talk about like, oh, how do you think that person felt after they ate that food? Or like, why do you think they chose that over that? And I don't want to sound like our kids don't eat junk. Like our kids go to birthday parties. And, part of what's big to us is that there is a social experience with food. And we want them to have that. There's two important pieces to that, though. Like our belief system is very much that we're not depriving them by not giving them this food. We're depriving them by actually giving them like junk food.
That's right.
But, when they go into a birthday party, we have a conversation around it. So if this party, we know there's going to be pizza and cake, you're definitely not having both because I wouldn't feel good if I had both. We're going to have a really good meal before, and you're going to pick one or the other.
Oh, I love that. So foreshadowing. That's awesome.
Yep. They go in with a plan. Awesome. There's no fight. I've even asked them, do you feel like you're missing out? They're like, no, I really don't. Yeah.
Oh my God. I hope everybody caught that tip because I didn't do that with my kids. That's brilliant. Go ahead.
There's one more thing too. I remember a speaker telling me this a long time ago. I think he was my nutrition professor, and he was like, listen, you may see me and my teenage son at the donut shop, in the morning when you guys are out and about, but please know this, like we have had like eggs and avocado and we've had a meal first and that's dessert. And so we haven't really gotten to a place yet, and I don't know if we ever will, that we do donuts at any point. But if we do, or like sometimes our kids want like a little bag of like pirate's booty or chips or something, and they may have that at 9 a.m. on special occasions. But they've had like eggs and bacon and avocado and oils and fat and veggies, and so it's really like thought of as a dessert. We're very on point about getting them some good fats and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a great point too as well. The other thing I thought about when you were saying that it's that food can be very social. I remember that one of the first food conversations I had with my daughter, she must have been around 5. And I had dropped her off at a babysitter's house, and the babysitter ate a ton of junk. And so it was kind of like her first experience getting really bad food. And so one day she like came back, I picked her up in the car, and she said, the food at Monique's is really good.
Of course, it tastes so good.
Right. And I said, oh, really? And she goes, but it's not organic. Why do we eat not organic? And so why do we eat organic? So then I launched into this long discussion to this 5-year-old. And then she said, could we just eat non-organic? Like, could we just eat not organic sometimes? And it was such a funny little 5-year-old perspective, but that was the beginning of some battling. It was like once she got exposed to, and her taste buds started to taste some of these other things, then the conversations had to become more often. And eventually it got so much easier when we started hanging around families and other people that valued health the same way we did. Like literally once we found a community of people that were eating organic, that were valuing the things that we valued, the conversations ended. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, I think that's huge. And it's like a catchy thing. I think a lot of us hear is like, know your tribe or choose your tribe. And I think that's huge for our kids because they want to feel, they don't want to be different, right? A lot of kids don't want to be different.
Right.
So I think that's really important. I think hanging around like-minded people and especially for kids is huge. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So, okay, let's dive into keto fasting and detox. These are like, again, the 3 questions that I get the most. And I think I want to start with fasting. So let's start there. Do you recommend that kids fast?
My general, if it's a yes or no, I would say no, but that's a gray area as we talk about fasting with our kids.
We talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Levi actually fasts and Wyatt fasts. And now when I say that, I want to explain it. So, you know, when, just like you, like when we're working with people and teaching them about fasting and we shoot for, you know, a 13 to 15 hour window, that sounds really long for a lot of people. But when people understand you count nighttime, that's huge, right? And so at this point, because Jason and I talk about it a lot and we bring them in on, you know, if we're having like a phone conversation with a patient or whatever, if it's appropriate, we do it in front of them so that they're hearing these concepts. It's not always appropriate. Yeah. But there's times they'll wake up and I'm not ready to like make a breakfast yet or anything. And they'll ask, how long have we been fasting? You know, we're pushing them to do these big, crazy things, but like in their mind, they know that it's okay to go these periods of time between food.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My son, he's 16 and he has a girlfriend and the girlfriend's mom like cooks all the time. And so he knows, like we do in the Resetter tribe, we do a fast training week once a month. And so he just knows, oh, mom and dad are doing fasting. I'm going to go over to my girlfriend's house and have dinner over there because my dinner options are going to be like fast mimicking diet or water. So
I'm out.
Right, I'm out. But again, you're setting the tone, you're setting a culture, you're talking about it, you're modeling it. The other thing I will tell you from my 19-year-old's perspective is she's been watching us fast and talk about it for so long that before she went off to college, we actually had a conversation about intermittent fasting and where would that fit in for her. And we talked about, you know, your dorm food's probably gonna be pretty crappy. And you have to pick a meal plan. So we talked about, okay, how many meals do you want a day? And she said to us, well, why don't I just intermittent fast and then I'll just have a 2-meal plan. And I'll tell you, this is her freshman year, and I've been blown away at how well she's done leaving our home from having great food around to being put in an environment where there's bad food all the time. And what she really consistently does all the time is intermittent fast. And she's avoided the freshman 15. She's avoided a lot of the things that we see with kids or teens as they go off. So I do believe there's a moment in which the kids, it's cool to fast. Yes, a teen, if they want to fast and you can actually say, yeah, go ahead and fast. I think that's great. If kids your age want to fast, that's fine. I think it has to be their idea. It has to come from them. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. We also do talk about fasting with our kids just in going longer between meals. I mean, you know, we somewhere along the line got into this, like eat every 2 or 3 hours. And like Jason Fung jokes, like the kids play soccer and they need a cupcake and then they play a little bit longer and they need an orange. And our kid, I mean, Kaya, who's 2, I swear one of her first words was snack. And so it's just, you know, fasting between meals, I think is huge. She actually, it's funny, like you don't realize how much you role model, but again, she's 2. And in the morning, sometimes she'll be like, I don't want to eat, I'm fasting. I mean, really, she's just not wanting her eggs. She wants something else. But that's a little peanut. I'm fasting, Mom.
Yeah.
But I love that Bodhi's taken that on. I mean, I was a freshman 15er. My freshman year was the worst. So I'm definitely going to want some tips from you when I have college kids.
Yeah. And again, there were so many times I wanted to talk fasting to her, and I really waited for her to come to me. I think that's one of the things that I really want to emphasize to parents, that, I grew up in a family that my sister had an eating disorder, and my mom was dieting all the time. So I look at that now and I'm like, oh my God, I think there was the message my sister got was to restrict food and dieting. We talk about fasting and keto and all of this in such a positive way. It's not like I never talk about weight in our family. We never talk about weight. I don't talk about my own weight. I mean, the fact, I was even hesitant to tell you the story about Bodhi, because I didn't say when she came home from school, like, wow, you didn't lose weight, you didn't gain weight. Like, it's just never comes out of our mouth. We always talk about fasting in terms of health, and we follow the lead of our children. I think that's
huge,
super huge. But what I'm hearing you say is that even with a 2-year-old, it's safe if they skip a meal.
Yeah, or like definitely skip in between meals too, like breakfast and then not eating till lunch. Or, like back in the day, we didn't eat dinner and our dinner was taken away and you go to bed hungry, and like our kids have done that.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and you've survived.
And we're like, the next morning, it's like, look, you guys fasted 20 hours. And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's great.
Like you're saying, it's their idea and it's empowering. And I think especially with teenagers and older kids who like don't want to do exactly what mom or dad are doing. Like, oh, all of a sudden you want to fast? That's great. Where'd you learn that? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it?
Yeah. And, I think that's the most important thing is you model it. It needs to be positive and it needs to come from them. So we really can start to get in, the teens especially can get kind of mixed up in their head if they feel like they have to fast. Everybody should come. I mean, in the whole world should come to fasting from a perspective of, I want to do this, because nobody can make you stop eating. So, okay. So that's fasting. Somebody asked in my academy, how do they get their kids to stop eating 3 meals a day and snacking all the time? So put yourself in the shoes of the family that's hearing this for the first time. And they are like, okay, I got to retrain my kids. Do you have any advice for that? Like if you're the family that has been eating 6 meals a day, the kids get up and you're like, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You better eat it. And now you're hearing this, and you're maybe seeing the science on fasting. Where do you go from that mindset to hearing how we used it with our kids?
Sure. Well, I think, as you know, Mindy, adding fat in. So fat first is huge, because when your fat intake and good fat intake, like avocado, good clean oils that you can put on your food, when your fat intake is up, it's easier to go longer between meals because you're not relying on that glucose in, right?
So important.
So also, I think if your population's age range is actually looking to like skip breakfast, which again, we're taught is the most important meal of the day, I think the dinner the night before becomes really important.
Yeah.
There's a thing I have some of my patients do, and I'm like, okay, let's try like carbing up one night, get a huge pizza, drink some beer, adults, obviously, drink some beer, do this at like 9 o'clock at night, go to bed, wake up the next morning, and you're going to be starving. And then a different night, eat like some grilled chicken, some like kale, whatever, like some green veggies, good oils, lots of fat at like 5 p.m. And you're going to wake up and you're probably not hungry. Mm-hmm. So that last meal becomes so important if you're going to skip the breakfast.
I love that.
And then, like with our kids at our age, and I think teenagers, college age, and adults, really just warming up to that by skipping the snacks between meals is huge, even if that means having a bigger meal. So like with our kids now, if they're like, okay, well, after my eggs, can I have this and I can have that and can I have that? I'm like, no, you can have that all with your eggs. And then we're going to stop kitchens closed, which helps me so much.
Oh yeah, kitchens closed is great.
Oh, I felt like if I were in art therapy, I would be like drawing a picture of myself chained to the kitchen. Like, wait, no, I'm not. So, I mean, it's like that saying no and being okay with a little bit of pushback. Mm-hmm. I now try to think of no as nourish oneself. So like, this is helpful for me and for them. And it's okay. There's going to be pushback in changing habits, but they're going to be okay. And I know it's better for them.
Okay, that was brilliant. No is nourish oneself.
Yes. Isn't that good? It's not my own, but I love it. I use it all the time. Like to say no to social things or the kids. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you know that we've talked a lot in my community about a lot of people have what's it, FOMO, fear of missing out, right? And so then there was a beautiful reframe or quote that I saw that there's actually JOLO, joy of missing out.
Oh, I love that.
That if you don't do something, it's like it's a gift to yourself. So
yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? So
yeah.
I like no. So here's one mind frame or mind shift I would love people to adopt, all ages. I mean, this is for adults as well. We have been taught to eat 6 meals a day. We have been taught breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So what I always encourage people to do is if you don't believe that is a myth, go research that. Type in studies done on the benefits of 6 meals a day and go to Dr. Google and see what kind of research you can find. What Dr. Melissa and I practice with our own selves and what we're teaching our kids is what we call, or what I call, compressed eating, which is where you take an eating window and you're compressing it. So there are fasting times and there are eating times. And that is what I tell my kids is like, we're just not eating right now. This is not an eating time. We do this when we go on vacation all the time. The kids are like, they know that they're just not getting breakfast because it's a fasting time, but we'll have lunch. And then once that eating window opens, talk a little bit about that, because I think what's important is once the eating windows opens, then eat. You don't have to restrict. But in your mind, if you're like, oh, my kids have a fasting window and they have an eating window. And in the eating window, I personally would say snacks are okay in the eating window. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I love what you said too. Like when you guys are traveling, they just know we're not going to eat. And that comes in handy too when you have this model in your family, because if you're somewhere where there's not access to decent food, we're just skipping and that's okay.
Yeah.
You're not depriving again. But yeah, I think a lot of people, are hearing about intermittent fasting and maybe have grown up or just in their busy lives have actually been already doing some of this and they're skipping breakfast. But I think what's key to your point is in that eating window, fueling yourself, not cutting down on calories, not even counting calories. But I do think, again, fat first. Like I think fat is really important because when we extend that fasting window and then compress the eating window, if you first load your body with glucose and carbs, you're going to set yourself up for that whole roller coaster and it's not going to feel good, right?
Yeah. So fat first. I hope everybody hears that. And that's a mantra you can tell your kids, fat first.
Yeah.
Fat first. So before we move on to keto and like what that would look like, can you give, and it may be a good segue into keto, can you talk a little bit about what snacks? So that was another thing that came up specifically in my academy. People asked, okay, what kind of snacks? I'm out of snack ideas. So give us an example of what some of the snacks are that you do in your family.
Yeah, so that's a great question. That's one I get a lot. Again, I always go with fat first. It's so simple and I just have that in my mind. So like, again, our kids are 2, 6, and 8 and they see other kids eating certain things. And I think teenagers too, right? So teenagers are off doing their own thing after school. They're making their choices. But I know after school, my kids are going to be the most hungry. So I'm going to fill them up with whatever I want first, especially if I bring it like in the car, they're going to eat whatever I give them. Right. So I try to do like some green crunchy veggies that are real hydrating. Obviously there's not necessarily fat in there, but they're like very satisfying. Cause I like that at work. Like, I think that's just a really nice way to hydrate.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of like nut butters, thankfully we don't have a nut allergy. I know a lot of people do. So I'll touch on nut-free stuff in a minute, but we do like Lara bars if I need packaged stuff. I don't love the amount of sugar and stuff in there, but it's a start and our kids love them.
It's got good fat too.
I make some nut. What's that?
It's got good fat too. The Lara bar. It's got some good nuts in it. It's got some good fat. Can you not hear me? Melissa, did I lose you? Yeah, so I'll tell you what I do while we're getting her connection back in. Can you hear me? I see you back. Yeah. So what, there's a great cookbook called Fat Bombs, and I really encourage people to go and get that book, because there's so many little fat bomb treats. I'm also a huge fan of avocados. Both of my kids, we have a bowl of avocados on the countertop, and they will reach for those avocados. And I think, I don't know if you get, I'm in California, we can get avocados all year round. I don't know if you can get avocados. Yeah. Okay. So, but the avocados are great. A lot of times with a meal, if my son doesn't want to eat like any of his greens, which is sort of my big rub with him, I will put an avocado on his plate and be like, okay, well then you need to eat a half of an avocado. So, okay. So talk about nuts.
Oops, I don't know why it's choppy. You got me now?
Yeah, you're coming in and out a little bit, but I don't know.
Okay.
So
our kids, we'll try to pair them with like avocado, like guac dip or salsa. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you kind of go in and out a little bit. There's another area at your house. I'll tell you what we do with guacamole. Guacamole is amazing, by the way. To me, guacamole is the greatest gift to a family. And then we experiment with things other than chips. So we do radishes, we do carrots, my kids love red cabbage. So we'll do red cabbage with guacamole in it. We've done, when the kids were little, we used to do something called a hammet, which was the organic ham with cheese inside of it, and we'd roll it up. And we also trained them that you didn't have to put bread on everything. We actually rarely even have a loaf of bread in our house. It's very difficult to find bread. Every once in a while we'll bring it in, but my kids just didn't get used to putting bread on everything. And I think that's really important as well.
Absolutely. Yep, I would agree.
So, okay, go back to nut-free options. I can hear you really clearly right now.
Okay. We actually do a lot of baking in our house too. So we try to make fun things. We'll do just like a paleo flour, and as I'm talking, we put a lot of nuts in everything. I have to think.
Yeah.
I have to think about nut-free options.
Yeah. So
it's just an easy way to get it.
Yeah. We have my husband doesn't really do well with nuts. So we've learned to kind of avoid nuts a little bit. I think olives are a good fat option. And
we do a lot of those. Yeah. Our kids we do a lot of coconut strips. They love coconut strips.
Oh yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. So I think
like fruits, veggies, not a ton of fat with just that, but those are, I think what's key is just keeping the fridge stocked when kids are hungry, no matter the age, whatever's at eye level is what they're going to see and what they're going to want. And if it's easy, it's going to be even more likely. So we'll have glass containers of prepared veggies. They can just grab and go. Apples, that it's harder for them to find anything that's not like that. We try to not keep it in the house, really.
Yeah. Okay. So that brings up another point. I'll tell you one of the tricks that I did with my kids is what we did in the house was much stricter than what we did outside the house.
Same.
So my general rule was don't bring any fake food in here. Don't bring me chemicals. I am working really hard to give you food that's free of chemicals. And I tell my kids the number one rule with food is organic. So if we go to Whole Foods to buy dinner and my son wants a pizza, then I don't always say, he's 16 now. I don't say it has to be gluten-free. I say it has to be organic. Now, my kids have also grown up with all different types of milk. They've grown up with all different types of grains. So when I give them something gluten-free, they're not like, yeah, this is horrible. I made gluten-free brownies for my son the other day, and he loved them. So his taste buds are used to those gluten-free and paleo type flours. So I do think it's experimenting and moving it all around and kind of giving them a variety. My kids will eat anything you give them because they've been trained to be explorers when it comes to food.
Yes. And I think, again, like we talked about earlier, the key to that is starting early. The earlier you start, the better. Yeah. And for any of my moms that are trying to make these changes, that if they just aren't there yet, I'm like, mix it half and half. So like mix wheat flour and don't let them see and dump in half of the other flour. Or like people transitioning off dairy, like keep it in the milk container, but pour half of it into a different container and fill it with coconut milk. Or, you know, the transition is key, and just making it as smooth as possible, like anything.
Yeah, agreed. And making it fun. I think that's not emphasized enough, making it fun. So, okay. So keto basically looks for a kid like fat. And the other thing I would point out, and you guys tell me what a typical dinner in your household would look like, and I'll tell you what it looks like in mine.
Okay. We're mainly like meat, fat, and veggies. Sometimes we scale back the meat, but that's like our go-to. The meats vary, the veggies vary. Like we do a lot of roasted cauliflower, sweet potatoes, Brussels sprouts, green beans. We always have all of it available. It doesn't mean that they always eat it all, but we want their roots to be that this is what food looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're the same thing. Meat and vegetables is pretty much what a meal would look like in our household. And we do a lot of the sweet potatoes. We experiment with some of those, but that's not the main thing we are serving is meat and potatoes. And then, like I said, it's very common for me to put a half of an avocado on there. We've experimented with sauerkraut. We've talked about the microbiome with them. We got chia seeds and hemp seeds we put on things. So, but again, you would not come into my house and find a lot of starchy breads or pasta type things. Would you say the same for you?
Yeah, same. Our kids just thankfully they've just grown up that way. So it's just really what they're used to. Yeah.
So if you're transitioning over to that, do you have any advice of like, again, I want to be mindful that we've got all backgrounds of people watching this.
Yeah.
So this is to me, a non-mommy guilt moment. Like you really, if you're listening to this and saying, I wish my kids would do that. What I want to tell you is no mommy guilt. Now let's retrain their taste buds. So do you have some advice for people who want to retrain their kids' taste buds?
Definitely. And I mean, I feel like the only reason that I've raised my kids this way, this is not like how I grew up, and this is not my norm. Like I'm a junkie, carboholic, recovering addict. So I grew up in a house. I mean, I drank Diet Pepsi as a kid. We had Dr. Pepper in the fridge. Like we drank more, we call it pop. I'm from the Midwest. So we drank really more pop than water. Every meal had bread. And no judgment to my mom, because I'm sure she'll watch this. She's doing great. But, so I retrained myself, and that's kind of what I think about when I talk to my parents about retraining their kids. And I think this isn't over months, this is over years.
Yes.
And I think the conversation around it is really important. I think particularly when you're dealing with teens, like involving them and helping them be part of the process, whatever that looks like. Yeah. But, if it's like switching pasta, don't just go from like regular whole wheat pasta or white pasta to no pasta. Nobody's going to like that. So start to mix in, maybe some brown rice pastas. There are so many of those resources now, gluten-free breads that actually taste not just kids who haven't grown up with gluten, but like, especially if you toast them and you put on like some butter or nut butter, I mean, they taste like normal bread. Yeah. So just to slowly start to chip away, and maybe like 1 or 2 changes a week or a month, or give it time for sure. I mean, I feel like it's taken me 10, 12 years, but just trying
to retrain your taste buds.
Yeah. And luckily, I feel like I had that in a really good place before kids, but I still think about it all the time with them.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point. Is it takes time to retrain your kids' taste buds. So I think the first thing is model it yourself. Your kids with health are never going to do better than you do. So it's not, I mean, I think it would be a rare kid that's going to show up and say, I don't want sugar, and the parents are eating sugar all the time. Maybe when they become an adult, they might, but I think they're only going to be as good as you are. And then give that time to change their taste buds. So one of the things we did with my kids when they were little is at that time I was really kind of not sure what I thought of milk. I knew that that non-organic milk with antibiotics was a problem, but I really wanted my kids to like almond milk and coconut milk and goat milk. And I wanted them to have, so literally every week there would be a different carton of milk in the house. And so they just would be like, oh, today it's goat milk. Oh, now it's almond milk. But this is a good point. What do you drink at dinner? Because we did not pour glasses of milk for our kids at dinner. But the only time they ever used milk was they did do some cereal when they were little. So what do your kids drink with their meals? What do they drink in general?
Yeah, our kids really only drink water. At times we'll have like a fridge and it goes bad before we use it. We just use it for their supplements, which I know we'll talk about after. But our kids only have water. They were not raised on dairy. They're all breastfed. A lot of my moms are really worried about not giving dairy. We don't need dairy to build strong bones. Our kids are living proof of that. They are so strong. They jump off crazy heights and do perfectly fine. But yeah, we're a water family. Sometimes we'll have seltzer, or like a little kombucha, but mainly water.
So you know what we did in our household that was one of our more brilliant moves is when the kids became teens, we got a lot of questions about soda. So we started bringing in Zevias. Have you guys ever done Zevias?
I've heard of.
Yeah, so Zevias are like soda with stevia in it, and they're actually pretty good. I usually have a house full of around 10 to 12 teenage boys in my house on a given weekend, and they'll drink the Zevia. It's actually pretty good. But the brilliant thing that we did is we actually got a kegerator, and we brought in kombucha. So we have kombucha on tap. And so the teens that come to our house know that they can grab a cup out of the cupboard and they can take out of the tap, they can take kombucha, and they love it, and it's fun, and it just ended the soda discussion.
I remember asking you, Mindy, a while ago when we were together, I was like, I want to be that house. And I feel like I'm instilling that now with my kids, with having their friends over. I want to be that house where they want to hang out. And I remember you got home from the seminar and you texted me a picture and you were like, this is how you do it. And there was your daughter and all her friends.
Yep.
Some yummy food and a big kombucha keg. That's so cool.
So I'll tell you the secret. There was 2 secrets, and I hope everybody's listening to this. It was the kombucha keg, and it's my magic popcorn. I do organic popcorn with grass-fed butter on top, and then Himalayan salt with a little bit of coconut sugar. And the kids love it. So when they come over and they watch a movie, they know they can get kombucha, and they know they can get my popcorn. So so that's the secret. There's the secret. So, okay, let's go into supplements. Let's talk a little bit about supplements. Do you give your kids supplements?
I do. I actually just did a video of this on our YouTube channel. We do supplements. We use them just as that. Like, I really want them to get everything from their foods, but the reality is they're not. Right. So we do supplements. Yeah. Okay. And do you do liquid? Do you do pills? Like, what kind of supplements? Both.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's certain ones that they take that are liquids, and then there's a couple that they take now and then that they rotate in that are solids.
And what kind of supplements are you giving them? Are you giving them supplements for just like a multivitamin, for immune system? Like, what exactly are you giving them?
Yeah, great question. We don't do multivitamins. I do feel like they get, the main general stuff through food, but we do a little vitamin D, a little vitamin A. We do sometimes like a fish oil kind of thing. Levi actually just wants them. He thinks they're candy. So he chews them. They're like little birds. Because they grew up this way, they chew them. They take stuff I don't even want to smell. And they're like, oh, Mom, give me more.
Yep. So they were trained that way.
Those are like our main, and then we'll do Restore. Sometimes we'll rotate in a probiotic. And I have the boys doing a little bit of iron now.
So another trick I have, my daughter will do supplements. She's always been a supplement taker. In fact, when she's not feeling well, she knows we have a set of supplements out for immune system that will build the immune system. My son is like an anti-supplement guy. So it kind of, and my son has been the one that has tested my nutritional knowledge to the max, because he's like the contrarian. He just does opposite of what everybody does in the family. So I started getting some supplements that were like build muscle and were like things that he might be into. And when his friends came over, I would stir up, like I did an amino acid drink that had like a lemon lime taste in it. I would stir it up and I'd give them to his friends. I'd be like, what do you guys think? You like it? And of course it was novel to them and they loved it. But once my son saw that his friends liked it, guess what he started asking for?
Awesome. Yeah. Sometimes you have to bring in those outsiders for the peer pressure, and what what your kids are growing up seeing as, and like almost taking for granted, or like, oh, whatever, ma. Other kids, it excites them. Yeah. So that's great. We do a mixture too. Like in that YouTube video, I said, we have shot glasses in our sink all the time for all the wrong reasons. Like I literally just line up the little shot glasses. They have cute little ones that we've accumulated from trips, and we just kind of load them up and they do their little shot and they're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way for all the wrong reasons. We have them in our cupboard for all the wrong reasons too.
Or all the right reasons. My mother-in-law was here doing dishes once and she was like, it's 10 a.m. Like, why are there 8 shot glasses?
That's awesome. I love it. So, okay, then let's talk. I have a couple more questions that were like very specific questions that my resetters had. Okay. So, and in the teen world, I know that you're aware of this right now. We have a growing epidemic of anxiety with our teens. And I believe it's multifaceted. But what do you put yourself in the shoes of a mom that's got a kid with anxiety, depression? Like, what are some natural solutions that they can apply to help themselves or help their child, especially teens? And it's really tough because they're a teen, right? So yeah, what can a mom of a child with anxiety do?
I mean, that's a big one for sure. And so I want to be gentle because I feel like as all moms, we are doing our best, right? And I think that moms that are dealing with that, you're in the trenches. So I applaud you for anything you're doing, most importantly. And, I think food is our medicine. And I think a lot of things start with food. They start with our microbiome, like the health of our bacteria in our gut. And we're really beginning to really, really understand that and see that in science. There's literally a connection with how we feel, our molecules of emotion, with what's in our intestines. And if you want to experiment with that on your own, like eat like your kid for a week, right? And start to see.
Well, that's great.
And you really will start to see how that affects our emotions. Yeah. I think with mental health, there's a lot of things in play, and I don't feel that I'm the one to really speak too much on that. But I think, getting in fat, clearing out sugar. Sugar's as powerful as cocaine, right? It does crazy things to our body and our hormones. So I think that's huge. I think food is huge.
Yeah, I love what you said about food being medicine. I think that, and you got me thinking like about eat like your kid for the week and see if your kid will eat like you for a week.
Yeah.
And then take some notes and go, okay, how did we each other feel? So, but with anxiety, I think you're absolutely right. The two things to look at are the gut microbiome. What's going on in the gut? I do a test called the Gut Zoomer where it tests for like pathogens in the gut, but it also looks at diversity of the microbiome in the gut. We have done thousands of this of gut zoomers in our office. Not one person has showed up with good diversity, meaning that we just don't have our microbiomes are so deficient of good bacteria. So I would say, get them on a probiotic. Start slipping hemp seeds and chia seeds, feed those good bacteria. Restore is one of my favorite supplements. So I think there are just like you said a while ago, there are some small changes you can make. I know that we've detoxed kids before, especially teens, and that's really helped with anxiety. We've also used CBD. Have you used any CBD oil for anxiety?
Yeah, I don't necessarily in office, but the other doctors do. Yeah, so I wouldn't feel comfortable speaking on it, but I know that the effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CBD has been amazing. CBD calms the nervous system down, and it's something that a teen will take as just drops. You got to be really careful because it can be packed with heavy metals. So in our office, the only brand we recommend is Charlotte's Web, because they've tested for heavy metals. The other thing, and this is sort of like the most obvious and would probably be my first step, would be chiropractic. Do you guys see chiropractically? I know that our office is packed with teens. Yeah. And when they come in and we adjust them, you just see they smile bigger. They're more relaxed in their body. It's really empowering to watch when you calm the nervous system down through chiropractic, how much they just blossom and feel better in their body. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're taking people out of fight or flight, right? To keep it very simple. And kids and teens, oh my gosh, are they in fight or flight? I mean, I'll see it. A lot of my moms will bring in their babies if they're fussy, or, you know, their young kids if they're not sleeping, or their teenagers if they're like, I just can't deal with him. Like that's when they know they need an adjustment. I mean, that's how I feel when I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a whole nother wonderful show we should do at some point, is that our nervous systems are being bombarded. And if you look at a teenager, they're getting bombarded from the stress of getting into college, which is insane right now, to social media stress, to parents having such high expectations and such, the helicopter parent just really pushing the child, at least here in Silicon Valley, that's what we see a lot of. And then they have internal stress. They're growing up in the most toxic time in human history, so they're packed with toxins. Their microbiome is off, and now they're anxious. And we are telling them to stop being anxious. So it's really to look at the bigger picture and say, gosh, you know what? You're stuck in fight or flight. Let me give you some tools on how we can get you out of fight or flight. And I don't know anything that gets people out of fight or flight quicker than a chiropractic adjustment. Would you say the same thing?
Absolutely, 100%. And also just touching back, you know, anything that we're talking about with like mental struggles, emotions, stress, right? So it's like focusing on the organ, right? So if that's our brain, what can we do to enhance brain health and gut health, like we've been talking about? So like feeding the brain the food that the brain craves, that the brain needs, like treat the organ that's expressing the challenge.
Yeah.
Right? I think Dr. Daniel Amen talks on that a lot. He's like, there are a lot of people talking about mental health that are working with directly like feeding and fueling the brain with food, with oxygen, which, you know, we're super passionate about. But
so let's talk a little bit about that. And then I have some questions. I want to talk about detox. So one of the things that Dr. Melissa and her husband specialize or really use as a tool is hyperbaric oxygen chambers. And I know in our area, we're dealing with a lot of kids who have concussions and have had some kind of head trauma. How does hyperbaric oxygen chamber fit into the brain story?
Yeah, great question. So hyperbaric oxygen, very simply, is oxygen under pressure. We use chambers, so they're about the size of like a tanning bed, I guess, for anyone who's seen a tanning bed. And just simply, we absorb more oxygen when it's under pressure. So we think about oxygen as a nutrient, just like vitamin C is a nutrient. So we get a lot of vitamin C through our food. We get a lot of oxygen through our environment. Most of us walk around at about 98% saturation, and you can't really get much higher than that. And just like at times you'd want to megadose vitamin C, say like if you have a cold or, you know, something like that, there's times when you want to megadose oxygen. So oxygen is extremely healing for wounds and for nervous tissue, including like brain, spinal cord, nerves, for muscles. So it's huge. I mean, for concussion, it's probably one of the most healing and efficient things that you could do. So we see a lot of kids for that. And then it really, really aids in the detoxification process because it's just helping pull stuff out and fuel the brain and system with everything it needs to heal. So I had a huge experience in it with I had neurological Lyme, and I feel like it has like saved my life. So I have felt it, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think if you're listening to this and you're one of those people that you have a child with high anxiety, or you know there's been an injury there, like there's been a concussion, I know that my son has only had one concussion, but I took it really serious, and we really dove in and made sure that we applied all the techniques that we could apply. I looked into hyperbaric oxygen chamber in my town, and I couldn't find a place. I know now you guys send these chambers, you rent them to people, and you send them all over the world or all over the nation. I wish you had done that when he had gotten his concussion, because I think it's important to address it quickly. CTEs are a big problem, and thank God there are people like you helping solve that problem. So we'll leave.
You know, like when you hit it fast, and I think that's huge, because with these, we'll call them brain injuries, right? We'll call all this brain injuries just for the ease of conversation. And, they stack on top of one another. So if your body is toxic, or if you have mold exposure, you have heavy metals, and then you get a concussion, or in my case, then you get Lyme, you're going to get hit way harder than had you not had, we'll say, like a full bucket beforehand. Yeah. So, like with what you did, I'm sure with Paxton, is you got rid of all that, underlying stuff to help the concussion heal. In addition, I'm sure to heal.
Yeah, we did.
But for a lot of these kids and families, we're trying to be proactive and like get rid of that stuff. So if or when a concussion happens, you're in a better place.
Yeah. Yeah, we did a lot. Whenever somebody, and this again is a whole nother conversation I'd love to have at some point, but we upped their minerals, because it's really important when a child has a concussion. Their brain is needing more minerals. So we upped his minerals. We got him adjusted. We lasered him. Like, we went full on in, and every day we were doing something to help with his brain health. The only tool I didn't have was the hyperbaric chamber. But it's awesome that you guys are now renting them. So let's go on to detox. But just so I can end this conversation on the hyperbaric, where if you guys do rent them, so where do people find your hyperbaric information?
Yeah, so we rent them and people can get them in their home, and we're helping practitioners like Mindy get them in their office. So maybe one day Mindy will have one.
I do. Yeah.
Our company that we're using right now, or that we're calling it, is called HBOT USA. So it's HBOTUSA.com. That's our name. So
that if I was listening to this and
we're helping a lot of CrossFit athletes now too. So just really, really fun. Good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about detox. And I know you and I have had a lot of discussion on detox and detoxing kids. And then I'm going to go to some questions that I have here live. What do you think about detoxing kids?
I think it's important.
Yeah, and I know you have talked that you haven't detoxed your own kids yet, but that it's on your list of things to do.
Yeah, I actually, in our conversations leading up to this, I talked about that, and I'm leading a group detox on Monday, and I was like, you know what, we're throwing our kids in. So Monday's the day. Awesome. They're getting detoxed.
Yeah, awesome. So let me tell you how I detox kids in my office. We go low and slow, and a lot of it is done through tinctures, so that they're drops for the kids that don't want to take pills. The formula that we follow, and I know this is the formula you're going to follow as well, was actually written out by a pharmacist and who had an autistic child and wanted a natural solution to detox her autistic child's brain. And so we follow that formula with all our kids. We tell our parents all the time, our hope is you notice no adverse symptom, that you just have a positive experience. Mm-hmm. I can tell our kids that detox, oh my gosh, they will come into the office and it's like somebody turned the lights on. They are all of a sudden, they look you in the eye. I had one kid the other day came in, she gave me a big hug, and I looked at the mom, because I lose track of who's on what detox. I looked at the mom and I was like, is she on the brain detox? And she goes, yep. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can tell. So I think that what's really important to understand about detox for kids is that our kids, again, are growing up in the most toxic time in human history. We have to address this, because it's only going to, like you said, compound, and these things will keep building. So yeah, let me know how it goes with your kids. I'm excited to hear that. Yeah,
very cool.
Okay, here are some of the questions. I I need a heavy metal detox for my 18-year-old who has anxiety and depression. I tried to start her on Restore, but she won't take it consistently. And when she's at home, she eats things that are out of the house. Will a detox be pointless if she isn't doing all the things?
I would say no. Yeah, just, I mean, something is better than nothing. And especially if you're doing something like the true cellular detox, I mean, you're dumping a ton of stuff. And ideally, you're, what's the word? What do we say? The first R, remove the source, right? Yeah. So everything that's going in ideally is clean. At the same time, when you're dealing with a teenager, that might not be easy. And getting some of the other toxins out may make it easier to make those changes after, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I detoxed Bodhi throughout her whole high school. What I love about with teenagers is there's little packets that we use of supplements, so they can just grab the packet and take it. So she's gone through our detox, the heavy metal detox, twice now. So I think it's and she ate crap. I mean, I will tell you again, in our household, she ate well, but I know what she ate outside of my household because I could look at her skin and it wasn't great. So but she still detoxed and I felt like we were moving forward. So, okay, gummy supplements, are they healthy? I don't know if you heard what I said. Gummy supplements. Do you know the gummy supplements that some of them are really toxic?
Yeah, I'm moving all over. I'm glad my house is clean because you're seeing every corner of it.
I know.
And it's here we have good internet. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the gummies. I mean, I think for some people it's I know people like those, what are they called? Fruit first, veggie first, something like that.
Yeah.
But they get stuck on their teeth. Like it's like stuff just sitting there. I think it's a good place to start. It's not where I would shoot for ending up. How about you?
That's perfect. I would say the same thing. It's a good place to start. I do think I'm super picky about the supplements that the families in my office use because there's a lot of junk in supplements.
Yeah.
So, and in those gummies, like the gummies from Costco, no. That is all a marketing gimmick. And I know there was an article that came out years ago that said that many of those gummies have lead in them because that's how they hold it. They help with the consistency to hold it together. So I'm not a fan. Make sure it's an organic, really good quality one. And then I would say it's a good intro. I also had, I don't know if with the gummy ones, if you had this, I had where they say to give them 2, but then my kids wanted the whole bottle.
Oh yeah, because they're delicious. Yeah, I would want the whole bottle. Yeah, I think so too. Like those vitamins are what people are talking about when you're seeing studies out. We promote a lot of supplements in our office too. We're like, here's the deal. Like we'll find the best vitamin D, we'll find the best B. We don't care if you get it, but like if you want to know what D do I take, we've done that research for you and it's here. And when these studies come out that like supplements don't help or vitamin D isn't effective, they're testing crap supplement.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to patients about it and they're like, should I get it at Target or whatever, if you're buying from somewhere like that, I just wouldn't even bother because you're just going to have expensive pee.
Yeah.
So either don't do them at all or get good ones.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's important because supplements is not the area that you want to cut a corner on.
Yeah.
You just don't want to do that. So,
okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think, I know one other really random question that came up was about oils. So let's talk just before we close it up about, I think oils is the easiest change to make in your household. In fact, I always tell my patients that if I came in overnight and I changed all your oils out and you came in and you started using them the next day, you wouldn't even notice. There would be your taste buds. So would you say the same thing? And what are some ideas that people can use for getting the right oils into their kids?
Yeah, I think it's super easy. I mean, they don't taste like much. You can cook with them. So we cook with avocado or coconut. We don't want to bring olive oil to high heat, but we use olive oil on anything raw. And, a lot of times our kids will dip their like chicken in oil also.
Yeah.
Again, we tend to get pushback at meals. Like I'm not trying to pretend like our kids are just like eating all this healthy stuff and loving it. They're exposed to it. They're given choices, usually 2 choices that we pick the choices. But if they're hungry or if like the meat is too dry, well, here's some avocado oil, dip in and enjoy.
Yeah.
But yeah, avocado, coconut oil, we use a lot, some good grass-fed butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an easy switch. That's a really good place for people to start. Good idea.
Yeah, and it's, all the potato chips now, if you do potato chips, come with the right oils too. Yeah. You can easily find avocado oil. So, and then the other thing I would say is that if you have teenagers in your house, you want to use nutrition and apply it to what they're motivated about. So skin is a big one. So if I know that I was able to explain to my daughter that her skin may not be looking as well, or when she eats sugar and the bad oils, I've also used the brain health. So before they go and take a test, I've talked about, well, what are you going to feed your brain? So you almost have to use it in the lingo that matters to them. So
that's huge. I mean, and that's one of the big things I've noticed. I mean, I had awful acne. Like, people don't believe me when I say it, but awful. And all I did was change how I ate. And my skin, I mean, I have like crystal clear skin that I dreamed about, and it was just getting rid of sugars. And dairy was a big one for me. Yeah,
dairy was a huge one. My daughter had a boyfriend who had really bad acne, and he used to eat over at our house all the time. And I basically said, okay, it's time to, if you want to take away his milk. We got a conversation about milk, and he basically said that once he took himself off milk, his acne cleared up. It's really cool.
I mean, I even feel like coming when I have too much, like I'll be like, oh, it's working on. But that's great to like speak to what they want,
Yeah, you got to go where they're motivated. So
yeah.
Okay, so let's summarize it. So fasting for kids, yes or no?
Maybe.
Okay. What would be your advice to a parent? How would you teach them to fast?
Start small, skip snacks, and have a good healthy meal as the last part of the day.
Okay. Keto, what does keto look like for families?
I think with kids, you called it this, and I love it, keto-esque, right? So let's talk about or think about fat first. Let's use some good oils, and let's limit sugars.
Okay. Detoxing. What do you think about detoxing for kids?
I think it's huge because it, like we had talked about, it kind of empties their bucket. So then it gives them room for later on. If concussion or something like that happens, it's going to be way easier to clear it out.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Well, okay. Well, how do people, you talked about HBOT. How else do people find you and the work that you're doing? You have a YouTube channel, you have some a Facebook page?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, Jason and I. It's called Doctors Sonners, so DRS and then Sonners, SONNERS. Our main website for our main office is coretherapies.net, and we're also on Instagram as Doctors Sonners, and that's our YouTube channel. We're still building out. I've had a hard time with a virtual assistant, but so slowly but surely our YouTube channel is getting built out. But there is a good video on there with our kids doing their vitamins.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I hope this was helpful for the people watching. This is such an important topic, and I get asked this question all the time on how to apply these principles to kids. So if you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching it on my Resetter, please give us feedback, because we do these videos too, and we do Resetter TV to give you ideas of how people are living a healthy life that's a little more out of the box. It's not mainstream conventional medicine or health. This is a different way to approach your kids. And what I've seen in my own kids and what I've seen in the practice is it's just amazing how kids thrive when you give them a really strong foundation of health. So
absolutely. And good job, moms. You're kicking butt out there. So one step at a time, one change at a time. You've got this.
Yeah. And no mommy guilt, and keep inspiring yourself. Keep asking questions, keep learning. This is why I say, if you want more information, please just let us know, and we will make sure that we get it to you. So thank you for your time and for moving all around your house to find the best internet. You're awesome. And again, I hope we get this into the right hands and people really flourish with it. So have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Mindy. Bye, everybody.
Hey, Dr. Mindy here, and if you enjoyed this video, please share it out to the world. I'm trying to get really cutting-edge health information into people's hands. And if you want to see more videos like this, just subscribe to my channel and you'll get updates as to when I go live and new videos that I put out there. Every Thursday, by the way, I do a live video from here and answer your questions. So if there are questions you want me to answer, join me then and I'll make sure that I address them. Thanks. Have an awesome day.